Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Paris Olympics will open in just a few hours' time, but a series of attacks in the rail network in France seriously disrupted travel to the capital city. French authorities described them as criminal acts of vandalism that included arson attacks in several TGV high-speed train stations. It is not clear yet if the attacks are linked to the Games. Nasri Karim has more.
The queues are lengthening at the Gare du Nord, a major train station in Paris. French authorities say high-speed trains around France were hit by several malicious acts that heavily disrupted traffic on a day, more than any that the capital needed efficient travel. The opening ceremony of the 2024 Paris Olympic Games. National Rail Company SNCF described it as acts of vandalism, including setting fires near at least 3 train tracks. They said it was part of a series of coordinated overnight attacks and will likely affect weekend schedules. But it has also disrupted travel to and from London via the English Channel and service to Belgium as well. The French sports minister condemned the attacks.
We're still in the process of analyzing all the impacts, assessing what we're going to implement as solutions, because it's going to have impacts also over the weekend. And we want this not to jeopardize the quality of the experience for the athletes and for the spectators. So it's a huge work in terms of crisis management, but we were prepared for that, you know.
It had yet to be established if the attacks had any direct links to the Games. National police said authorities are investigating what happened. Queues also formed at another station in Paris, Gare de Montparnasse. Passengers at the St. Pancras station in London were warned of delays of up to 1 hour. Paris officials expect 250,000 people to be affected by the incident, advising passengers to stay away from train stations. Nasri Karim, TVB News.
The opening ceremony for the Paris Olympics will be staged at 1:30 a.m. Hong Kong time tonight. In an unprecedented move, the extravaganza starts away from the stadium on the River Seine with boat parades and much more. An Olympic opening ceremony like no other. Over 10,000 athletes will sail down the River Seine in Paris in a 6-kilometer boat parade that starts at the Pont d'Austerlitz and ends at the Eiffel Tower. To keep the suspense, organizers have kept details of the ceremony tightly under wraps. This Hong Kong tourist says she has been looking forward to the ceremony since 4 years ago and hopes Hong Kong athletes can clinch more gold. This Chinese student in France said the atmosphere is vibrant these days and hope for a big win for the Chinese delegation.
The Torre Eiffel is fantastic. It's scenario and the local. In my opinion, is big Olympic in Paris.
The flame here comes on the water, and I think I can see here is a camera to the Tour Eiffel, and I hope, I think the flame will here opening. I don't know.
We waited to this day to meet in person finally in Paris. It's great, wonderful.
Tightened security too along the Seine, as well as around the Louvre and Palais Garnier, or the Paris Opera House in the heart of the French capital. Also gearing up for the showpiece are journalists at the International Broadcast Center, a hive of activity at the media hub among news outlets and broadcasters from around the world. The Olympic Broadcasting Services oversees the distribution of event coverage. In the past, the International Broadcast Center and the main press centers were located in the same area. This time, the broadcast center is in the suburbs, while the press centers are moved to the downtown district. A souvenir shop for those who want to keep a memento. Another choice, postcards and stamps, which cost around €4 per mail. To test the service, our TVB reporter is sending these letter cards to his loved ones back home, with scratch and sniff stamps scented like a fresh baguette. Another sought-after collectible, these pins, traded among reporters from all over the world, including TVB pins. The Customs and Excise Department has cracked down on party rooms that used karaoke songs with alleged copyright breaches. 18 people have been arrested. Authorities found that for the first time, these party rooms were using streaming technology to provide songs to customers. During the operations, customs officers seized 39 sets of karaoke players and encoder devices to stream videos with a total market value of $1.1 million. They contained over 1.8 million songs suspected to be in breach of copyright laws. Over this month, customs raided 31 party rooms and 1 restaurant in various districts that allegedly offered karaoke songs illegally to customers. For the first time, officers discovered new ways that operators provide infringing songs via streaming platforms at 4 party rooms in Causeway Bay. It goes like this. Customers would scan the QR code on the TV in the party room to pick the songs. Connected online, the TV can access the router and the karaoke player, which are located in another place. The karaoke player can send the karaoke videos through the streaming encoder and the router to be played back in the party room.
有別於傳統嘅營運模式。
Lam Man-chung, a senior inspector of the Customs Intellectual Property Technology Crime Investigation Unit, said, unlike traditional ways of operating, these karaoke devices are not placed in the party rooms, but in another commercial building like a data center and accessed remotely with no one keeping watch there. Leung said that's a move to evade enforcement by customs. 18 people were arrested. 2 of them were charged with infringing copyright laws. The Anti-Common Games Hong Kong 2024 opened at the Hong Kong Convention and Exhibition Center in Wan Chai today. The event will last for 5 days, and exhibitors express optimism about sales. Many anime fans arrived at the convention center early to line up. 2 hours before the event opened, the queue already extended from the convention center to Harbour Center across the footbridge. Major changes this year include the switch to advanced online ticket purchasing and cosplayers and photographers needing to buy an extra ticket to enter designated areas. Some exhibitors said they are not worried about the new arrangements affecting business because so far the event has done a good job in terms of crowd control. This year, more than 142 exhibitors attended the event, with more than 650 exhibition stands. Foreign Minister Wang Yi is attending the ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting and related meetings in the capital of Laos. He said that China and the ASEAN are trusted neighbors, and the 2 sides will work to enhance cooperation and economic ties. Zakarib reports from Vientiane in Laos.
Foreign Minister Wang Yi attended the ASEAN-China summit this morning in Vientiane, the capital of Laos. He said China and ASEAN are trusted, friendly neighbors and partners who support each other while sharing a common future. He noted that the 2 sides have achieved fruitful results in recent years. Both nations are strengthening economic ties, with China being ASEAN's largest trading partner for 15 consecutive years and ASEAN China's largest trading partner for 4 consecutive years. In the first half of this year, bilateral trade grew by 10% year-on-year. Last year, China's investment in ASEAN increased by 44%, and the total 2-way investment exceeded $380 billion. Later on Friday, Wang Yi held a series of bilateral meetings with foreign ministers from other countries, including Japan, South Korea, and the United Kingdom. In his meeting with Japanese Foreign Minister Yoko Kamikawa, Wang said China-Japan relations stand at a critical juncture, and he expressed hope that Japan would pursue a constructive and rational China policy. According to China's Foreign Ministry, Foreign Minister Wang Yi will meet U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Laos. Zakarib, TVB News, Vientiane.
Welcome back. For the Paris Olympic Games this year, most of the sports events will occur around the afternoon and at night Hong Kong time. Some local shopping malls and bars plan to broadcast the games and believe that it can bring in more visitors and buoy businesses. Helen Chen reports.
This shopping mall in Canton has created a mini Paris with decorations. It has also put up installations of different Olympic sports. A space has been reserved in the atrium for broadcasting events during the Olympics in hopes of keeping visitors inside. The assistant manager of the mall said catering businesses can benefit from the games because many visitors may stay to enjoy dinner after watching the events. She said the mall predicts a 15% increase in visitor flow and a 10% increase in sales compared with the same time last year. For a more lively atmosphere, watching the games with a couple of friends in a bar is also a good way to enjoy the Olympic spirit. This bar in Tsim Sha Tsui took the opportunity to launch the first fencing game machine in Hong Kong. Visitors can ride the Olympic wave and get a taste of the famous Hong Kong fencer Chung Ka-long's life. The president of the Hong Kong Bar and Club Association said the Olympics can bring up sales by 20 to 30%. He said Olympic events this year coincide with the prime business hours for bars, which is around midnight Hong Kong time. However, bars in Lan Kwai Fong believe that the Olympics would not help much with business and will only make special arrangements to broadcast the games if visitors show interest. Chief Executive John Lee said that after the Tokyo Olympics, the SAR government has again purchased broadcasting rights for the 2024 Paris Olympics and Paralympics. So all residents can watch the games and cheer on Hong Kong athletes for free. Helen Chen, TVB News.
The Hong Kong Palace Museum will increase the price of its general admission tickets by $10 next month. Mimo Sang-ai reports.
On Friday afternoon, the ticketing counter outside the Hong Kong Palace Museum in the West Kowloon Cultural District was busy. There are two types of ticket for visitors to buy: general admission and special exhibition. The current price for timed entry tickets for adults is $60, and members of the public can visit thematic exhibitions in the museum. Starting from August 15th, however, museum goers must pay an extra $10 for the ticket. Some tourists said the hike is acceptable.
The price is okay for us tourists, the $70, because the museum's so good. And of course the facilities are so good. And I would say it's excellent.
This man had a different opinion.
Always expensive. Keep the price low.
And why do you think that?
Yeah, it's okay, but you want public access. You want more people to come. Museums are good for education. It's too bad, but I guess inflation, what can you do?
This man who went to the museum with his brother said an extra $10 will not stop people from coming.
This kind of pricing is not very expensive. Actually, 60 to 70. I think it's affordable for most of the citizens who live in these cities. This museum is a very good place for education. No matter about the histories, it's also about our culture.
The price for time entry tickets for concession groups will also be raised from the current $30 to $35 starting from August 15th. The government earlier gave approval for the West Kowloon Cultural District Authority to sell some of its land to ease its financial challenges. The authority said it will review admission price of the museums as a way to improve the financial situation. Mims 9, TVB News.
After addressing the U.S. Congress amid mass walkout by Democratic lawmakers and protests outside, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met U.S. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, both leaders telling him to secure a ceasefire to the Gaza war. Biden and Harris also raised concerns about the release of Israeli hostages being held by Palestinian group Hamas and the humanitarian situation in Gaza. Nasfi Karim with more.
A day after addressing Congress, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met U.S. President Joe Biden at the Oval Office. A strained relationship, but Netanyahu drew on nostalgia to praise Biden, who announced on Sunday that he would not seek re-election.
Mr. President, we've known each other for 40 years, and you've known every Israeli Prime Minister for 50 years, from Golda Meir. So from a proud Jewish Zionist to a proud Irish-American Zionist, I want to thank you for 50 years of public service and 50 years of support for the State of Israel. And I look forward to discussing with you today and working with you in the months ahead on the great issues before us.
I look forward to as well. By the way, that first meeting with Prime Minister Golda Meir, and she had an assistant sitting next to me, a guy named Rabin. That's how far back it goes. I was only 12 then. But anyway, thank you all for being here.
With anti-Netanyahu protesters outside the White House, Biden is pushing the Israeli leader to secure a ceasefire after 9 months of war with Hamas that has cost close to 40,000 Palestinian lives. The U.S. president wants to free the more than 100 Israeli hostages still held by Hamas in Gaza. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby said Americans are counting the days.
Sadly, we know that not all of them are alive. Still hostages, still need to get home to their families. 293 days, there ought not to be a 294th. And we're going to keep working on that.
Netanyahu also met Kamala Harris, the vice president and likely Democratic nominee for November's presidential election. Echoing Biden but more forcefully, Harris later raised concerns about Gaza after frank and constructive talks with Netanyahu.
I also expressed with the Prime Minister my serious concern about the scale of human suffering in Gaza, including the death of far too many innocent civilians. And I made clear my serious concern about the dire humanitarian situation there.
Nazri Karim, TVB News.
A burning car pushed into a gully sparked California's largest wildfire of the year, authorities said as they announced the arrest of a suspect. Flames from the fire that the man is accused of starting exploded into what is now the Park Fire, which has burned more than 505 square kilometers near the city of Chico. Evacuations are ordered in Butte and Tehama counties. California authorities did not immediately name the man they arrested. Fire personnel were focusing on evacuations and defending structures while using bulldozers to build containment lines ahead of the Park Fire. Butte County's fire chief said dry fuel, low humidity, wind, and hot weather are all fueling the flames. More than 120 fire engines, 10 helicopters, and 12 air tankers are now online to battle the flames. 2 minor injuries among firefighters were reported. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.